talk about the Eldritch Moon spoilers. I'm actually going to do that up on here right now. Mythic spoiler. And I'm actually opening each one separately so we can kind of see what's going on. There's 3 full ones and 1 half card. The most exciting one is Emrakul. Let's go ahead and make him a little bigger. Get bigger. Her a little bigger. She a lady. Creepy lady. There we go. Alright, Emrakul the Promised End. 13 for a 13/13. Legendary Eldrazi. Nice and flavorful for Innistrad, which is, sitting around 13, Triskadel, Phobia, all that kind of cool jazz. Emrakul costs 1 less to cast for each card among card types in your graveyard. When you cast Emrakul, gain control of target opponent's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn. Flying Trample, protection from instants. So let's break it down one piece at a time, and then kind of talk about it, where it fits, what formats. Costing 1 less is a pretty big deal. The types that you will usually have are instant, sorcery, creature, planeswalker, and it's pretty easy also to have land and enchantment or artifact. So there are 7 pretty available types, 4 of which are very easy to get to, which makes it cost 9. If you work a little bit, it's easy to get that 5th. So I think that you're usually going to see Emrakul usually cast for 8 or 9 most of the times, but it's hard to imagine paying more than 11 for this effect. So if we imagine this as an 8 to 11 card, which is realistically where it's at, you get a lot of text. Taking your opponent's turn. Now they get a turn after that, so they get a turn to fix it. You don't actually take... Mindslaver basically says, ruin your opponent's turn as much as possible. You take an extra turn. This isn't that good. You don't get the extra turn. You get 1 turn to make them make bad plays. Now it's on a body, though. And this lady over here, she's going to make your opponent's creatures attack into her tentacly goodness. So that's usually killing at least 1 creature. I can't imagine too many creatures bigger than 13/13. And you get to play out all of their spells in the worst kind of way, fail to find on tutors, kill their own things. Lots of really mean things. A lot of decks don't have easy ways to interact with it. Ignoring aggressive decks, because if you get to this point, you're probably fine. Mid-range decks, if they have any removal, you can cast their removal on their own creatures, and then you can attack their creatures into your creature or creatures. So you're going to usually be able to kill most, if not all, of their board. If they have any sort of valuable cards, you can essentially make them discard them, as long as you can afford to pay the mana for them to discard that many cards. Like several tutors, even unconditional tutors can tutor up something like a land, something worthless. So taking that extra turn counts quite a bit. The last part, I think, is pretty big that people are looking over, is the last 3 things. People are not overlooking protection from instants. Most of the cards in the set are instants that remove her, and the ones that aren't, you do have that 1 turn gap window to play the sorceries and enchantments on their own cards or on other cards you prefer them to kill, so that they have to top deck a way to answer your 13/13. But Flying Trample 13/13 is just solid. Like, they're just going to end the game in 2 turns usually. Not a lot of flying is going on in these decks. And even if you do have a dragon, that only buys you 1 turn or maybe not even a turn, because the biggest dragon is an 8/8. So that's 5 and 13. That's 18 damage. If they took any damage from any other source, they're probably dead. So just being a flying 13/13 at 8 with the ability to make one of their turns awful, I think, is fairly strong. Emrakul still only goes into ramp decks and hard control decks, or some sort of delirium-based late-game deck that pops up, which doesn't exist right now, so I don't think she necessarily has a home, but the effect of stealing a turn is strong enough that I think it'll be looking for a home. A card me and Brad were disagreeing on is Eldritch of the Kralin Horde, and Eldritch Uncontested Alpha. On the front side, we've got 3 red-green for a 4/4 legendary creature, Human Werewolf. Commander players rejoice. And when it enters the battlefield, target creature, or flips, target creature gets, or transforms into Eldritch of the Kralin Horde. Sorry, not either flip. Only when it flips onto this one. Target creature gets +4/+4, and the normal cost for transforming. On the back end, it is a 6/6. When it transforms, you may have it fight target non-werewolf creature you control, and the werewolf clause for flipping. So, in standard, let's just look at the front half, because most of the time, it's just the front half. Late in the game, it might flip to the back half. Late in the game, when you don't have other cards you want to play, or if you absolutely have to, you can try to gamble and see if it flips. Remember, if it dies, it still can fight, as long as the targeting goes on. but you can also kill it with the flip trigger on the stack, which is what you normally do. So when you play it, target creature gets +4/+4. That's not a great ability. Where I really see I want to play this card is in a deck that is a beatdown deck, that is a top out. This is the top out. You're running, 4 to 6 4-drops and 1 to 4 5-drops. And Eldritch could fit there just because the 4/4 is almost as good as a spell itself, like an overcosted spell with another spell on it. Then it's not card advantage per se, but it's pressing your directive hard enough that you're happy with it. And the other side is fine because they usually won't have a lot of creatures. That said, I really can't see this as more than like a 1 or 2 of if that red-green deck gets off on its feet, which doesn't currently exist. So it's a lot of what-ifs for Eldritch really to see a lot of play. And it's just such an underwhelming body on both sides for 5 mana. I wish that it had some sort of abilities, like maybe Trample, maybe Haste, Menace, even Reach, anything really going on. And there's just not enough going on for me to think that this will be a great card. Alright, so probably the most interesting card to some folks, and super not interesting to me, is Cooks from the Blind Eternities. 2 and blue for sorcery. You may choose an Eldrazi card you own from outside the game, or an exile, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So the or an exile or outside the game makes it function like one of the old Wish cards, like Burning Wish and Death Wish, which is a cool, flavorful thing. It means you can get it from underneath an enchantment that exiles it, or you can get it out of your sideboard. Places where you're going to use Cooks from the Blind Eternities are twofold. In a deck that wants more than 4 of a certain Eldrazi. So you want 5 Ulamogs. So now you can run 3 in your deck and 2 Cooks from the Blind Eternities and 1 in your sideboard. And now you have 5 effectively because you can cast this to get another one out of your card deck. And you're going to cast them later usually. But even in something like Omnitel or Show and Tell variants, I think you just rather have the Ulamog. Just because if your opponent plays Show and Tell, you don't want to be the guy with the Cooks from the Blind Eternities in hand. And the other place is Silver Bullets. You want to be able to kind of search for a specific Eldrazi. It says Eldrazi card, so it can get Sweepers. All is Dust comes to mind, and maybe some other cards that could matter. But I can't really think of a place where I want to play this. Tutor's just... It's too narrow of a tutor to be great because we don't have enough Eldrazi. That said, if more Eldrazi come into this set, or future sets, maybe it will be good enough. This might be the last time we sell Eldrazi. It might not be. And the last card we have is only half a card because it's the back half of this card. We only have the flip side. Hanweir, the Writhing Township. Legendary creature, Eldrazi use, Trample Haste, 7/4. When Hanweir, the Writhing Township attacks, put 2 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Now you might think, wow, that is 13 damage coming in at haste, 7 of which has trample. That is pretty impressive. We have no idea what the front side does. We have no idea how good the card is, if it's overcosted, if it's hard to play, etc., etc. So we're not going to spend a lot of time evaluating where this has a place or not. But I do want to just point out that I feel like this is really capturing the flavor. This is also card 130, so it's probably a green or red card. It can't be a land and it can't be an Eldrazi unless the flip cards are counted differently, but then it wouldn't probably be in the middle, so that's kind of weird too. But this little symbol up here at the top, the Eldrazi symbol instead of the night and day symbol, I think is a really nice touch to something that they necessarily didn't have to do. They could have just kept it night and day, but they went with the Eldrazi symbol and also sets a precedence for future flip cards if they want to use them in things like Conspiracy or other sets, or if we have Return to Innistrad, if it is survives, means that we can use different cool symbols for that. Alright guys, hopefully we'll have some more spoilers. They should be trickling out right now because full spoiler season hasn't started. But as I do, we'll try to evaluate each one primarily for standard, but also if they're applicable, modern, legacy, any other format. And as always, we'll do the full limited set review as soon as the set comes out. Alright guys, Mobius Pick out.